Thank you for tuning in to KBOB 89.9. I know you are enjoying the vibes and you're enjoying the tunes, but it is now time to tune in to the Black Love Club.
It's the Black Love Club. We on the radio. Turn the speaker up. You could tune in this live stream, but vibe into the dial into the station. Join the conversation. Hey yo, said the Black Love Club is on the radio. You could tune into the live stream, just vibe into the dial into the station. Hey yo, yeah, the Black Love Club, we on the radio. Guys, and welcome back to the Black Love Club, you guys. I'm so excited to be back in the building. Welcome back, you guys. Welcome back. We're your hosts. Nikki Talks. We have Richard Roots over here, and we have Edgar Prime. You guys, I'm so excited. You guys,
I'm back.
Yes, I'm really excited, you guys. So again, welcome back. Here at the Black Love Club, we are here to remind you that Black love is real. Black love is strong, and Black love still exists. Yes, you guys. So we're gonna get into it. I'm so excited. I think last week was our first week with our, and I ain't never go back to me, with our new co-host, Edgar Prime, and it was really, really good. I love just the energy that he brings to the channel, the radio show. Yeah, I'm so used to doing YouTube. That's crazy. But you guys, look, it's really going to be exciting today. Today we are going to be talking about, you go ahead. Talk about accountability.
We're going to be talking about unfiltered accountability in our community. And if this is the missing piece that we need, personally, I think this is what we need: unfiltered accountability.
Well, that's interesting. All right, you guys. Well, we're about to go into our next segment, guys, the news, which we have a new segment, you guys. We're doing some new things, right? Okay. So it is Voices and Vision with me, Nikki Talk, and we're going to be talking about just news that's going on. So just to give an introduction of what we're going to be doing on this portion of the show. All right. All right, guys. So just to talk about some news. First of all, it is windy. It's been windy. It's been crazy. We had some windy days. Friday was real windy, and then it came up to after Friday. We had Tuesday. Today was extremely windy. It was crazy. So the wind has been crazy. The dust has been crazy. I know people allergies. My son allergies has been going crazy, y'all. I just got him some tea for that. Also I want to tell y'all about, we have the Booker Foundation has a spring break family fun fair, and it's 2 days of fun, you guys. If you need to purchase tickets,
2 days of fun.
You're gonna purchase it from Booker School of Music at 1216 North Lansing. It's gonna be this Friday, March 21st, from 12 to 6, and also it's gonna be Saturday, March 22nd. From 12 to 6 as well. The tickets are $15. So guys, there's going to be a lot of games, fun, excitement for the whole family. So no matter the age, you can bring them out. $15 per day. It's going to be a really awesome time. So take your kids. Again, you can get it from the Booker School of Music, which is 1216 North Lansing. Okay. It's going to be a really good time. So definitely get yourself there. Now, in other reports, you guys, earlier this morning, it was just maybe it happened, but Jonathan Mayers, which I got to shout out Jonathan Mayers because he has been shamed so much. And I feel like he's getting back into good grace with everything. I feel like we gotta love on our black men, even when they was on the other team, but they came back. So, but I feel like he went through that situation where there was like public embarrassment for him. But now he's with Megan Good, and they have officially tied the knot, you guys. So, according to recent reports, the celebrity couple exchanged vows in an intimate ceremony on Tuesday. Now, the details remain a little scarce, but sources on Page Six confirmed that the Ant-Man star and Harlem actress are now married. Now, the couple reportedly hosted a small private wedding in their Los Angeles home with Major's mother, who's a pastor. I think she is a pastor. She officiated the wedding. Now, it was just four people there, very small. And Megan's been married before, so she probably didn't want like the extravagance of it all, and men really don't care about all that. If they could save a couple of bucks, that's what they're gonna do. So
Is this some music playing under there?
yeah.
Mhm.
Say Masters, mute.
Okay. All right. So, and yeah, so they have, they're married now and different things like that. So now I want to go over, Anthony Mackie. He has been under fire, and I want to get you guys' opinion on that as well. So Anthony Mackie, he's been under fire just because of, something he said, which I don't think anything was wrong with it, but other people do. So now sorry. This is Anthony Mackie's statement that he had told on about raising black boys in America in 2025. He said, "In the past 20 years, we have been living through the death of American male, but I raised my boys to become young men." The Captain America Brave New World star said, he and added, "They have literally killed masculinity in our homes, in our communities, for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men, and however you feel about that, you feel about that." So I want to know what you guys think about his statement. I kind of feel like I know what you guys are going to say, but what are you guys' thoughts?
You heard about this, Prime? It looked like you got something cooking over there.
I did hear about this, and it's funny because if you haven't already, Captain America: Brave New World is a good movie. I love Anthony Mackie as an actor, and I thought he did a great job as Captain America. That said, I completely agree with his point. If you look at the state of how things are, it seems like there is a concerted effort to really remove the masculinity from men, but especially boys.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of this gender dysphoria, this LGBTQ agenda, as it's sometimes described, is that while all of this is going on, the thing that's being really stripped away is the masculinity from the boys. Mm-hmm. What there is basically more and more an acceptance of the feminine. There's not a real push to accept masculine traits. It seems like any direction you really turn, masculine traits are more being demonized than uplifted. And if there's any masculine trait that is being celebrated, is because it's to the betterment of somebody else.
Mm.
That's
That's facts. But first of all, shout out to Anthony Mackie. He's from our hometown too. A shout out. We got we not only have what's his name, Gambit from New Orleans, but we actually have a real life superhero, Anthony Mackie from New Orleans. So I didn't when I saw the controversy, I didn't get it. I didn't understand like what was the frustration about it. And it goes to like, I mean, I'm like, man, at this point, do the black man really have a voice? Because I really didn't see nothing wrong with this man. He's talking about his sons. So when I started getting the comment section, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. If you have followed this controversy, let me know what you think. Because what I was saying in the comment section was that they were upset about his statement about the Jordans. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm raising my young men, my boys to be young men. I don't want them wearing Jordans and flashy all on social media and stuff like that. People are upset about that as if he's not the father and the man of his house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I commend him for that. I
I do
mean, what
too.
he said, it doesn't hurt the young man.
No,
Okay.
it's actually going to
Let
teach
me
him
write some
values. It's
notes.
going
It
to teach
does,
him
yeah.
to appreciate them, and it's also going to teach him not to get used to trying to maintain a lifestyle.
Right.
Because that's really what comes with the Jordans.
Okay,
Because as soon as you get the Jordans, now you got to be set up for that next drop,
Hmm.
and then the next drop. And how much money have you forked over to Jordan?
Right. Right. Instead of, I mean, you could have every shoe that Michael Jordan ever came out with, or
Okay.
you could
I
actually
just
use that
wrote
money
down,
invested
so-
into your community, into your family, building legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how could we be mad at the man? I didn't get the controversy, but I mean, to each his own.
The only controversy is it's a man basically standing up for men and saying, "Hey,
Hmm.
Thank you.
masculinity is being removed from men, from boys, and that's a problem for me. It's not going to stand in my house." And that is where the controversy comes in, because the big push right now is everybody except the feminine, get more emotional, get
Mhm.
more, passive aggressive, and he's basically speaking for the opposite, which is really what we need more now, more than ever.
Right. Do you think this is like this is not a part of the topic, but do you think that um the praise image of a man is more feminine than masculine today?
I think definitely. I don't know if you know what I would say yes.
Hmm.
I think that nowadays, and I think Cat Williams made a reference to this in one of his stand-ups not too long ago, but he basically said that in order for a lot of these black actors to actually make it before they could reach superstardom, you either had to see them in a dress or kissing another man.
Mm.
And one thing we can, if we just look at recent history, how many times have we seen The Rock or Kevin Hart kiss?
Mm.
How many times have we seen them in a
I don't know. We
dress?
have?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, we have.
Oh.
And so, matter of fact, Rock did a whole movie as a gay man.
Mm.
So it is. And then if you think of like Little Nas X, and
Right.
there is a big push, athletes in fashion.
Mhm.
For years, the fashion has been getting wilder and wilder, closer to that feminine fashion for men. And that's what's getting celebrated nowadays. You don't really see the traditional masculine traits or habits or anything like that getting celebrated nowadays.
That's oh man, this may be a push, but I'm wondering, just based off of what we're seeing on media, social media, and what we're seeing in our community. I mean, it really begs the question: is it that do we really hate the image of a real black man?
Yeah.
Do we really hate the image of a real black man? That's a cool. You're bringing the heat.
We could sit on that, because I knew that was that wasn't about unfiltered accountability, but sit on that because I really want to I really want to pound on that, because like I asked that because just based off of the conversation that we're having right now, when you look at when a black man speaks up, there's so much chaos over something so small as Anthony's advice to his children.
Right.
There's so much femininity being pushed from the black man on media, and whenever we see the picture of a real strong black man, he's scrutinized.
100%.
But when we see a picture of a strong black woman,
celebrated.
It's celebrated. So I think that's something that we really need to ask ourselves: do we really love strong black men? Not us, but does the media love strong black men? I'm gonna say that.
I don't think the media does, but I also think it's if you can think of it from a feminist perspective, and I've thought about this quite a bit. Me and you go back and forth in these talks, but if you think about it, if you're going to place men and women in an arena where they have to compete against each other, there's going to come a point where in order for the woman to get the top seat, you're going to have to push down the men. There's no other way it'll work. And if you really look through every arena of life that we have, you typically have, especially if it's like a male dominated arena, the men are typically on the top. The only way that you get them out of there is either you're in an avenue that men don't go in, or you have to have a means of basically tearing down the image of the man and then just celebrating the woman. If you don't speak about the faults in the woman, you speak about the faults in the man, even if they're equal, now one becomes higher than the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with them just celebrating the feminine traits in the black men, or the feminine things, like Dwayne Wade's very big right now. But it seems like all of the stuff that's getting pushed around Dwayne Wade ain't got nothing to do with him being a basketball player.
Right.
It's all about, he's painting his nails down. What he's doing in his relationship. He's very sassy. His mannerisms, all of those things, he's getting pushed into the limelight. But what happened to those traditional masculine values? We're not seeing those pushed out into limelight at all.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's true. I feel the same way. That definitely is going on. But just to continue on to finish up the news segment, our former First Lady Michelle Obama and her brother Craig Robinson, they have launched a new podcast on which they discuss life challenges and relationships. Now, it is produced by the Obama's media company Higher Ground, and the podcast aims to foster open and honest conversation. She had said that with everything going on in the world, we're all looking for answers and people to turn to. She told The Hill, "My brother Craig and I launched the IMO podcast to create a space for people to come as they are, ask honest questions and give their opinions and have thoughtful conversations about life." I actually listened to a little bit of it. I didn't find anything bad about it. I didn't get to listen to as much as I wanted to, but I do also enjoy listening to Michelle's voice. I enjoyed her book. I read her book, Becoming, and it was really, really good. I've seen her documentary. I think that was on Netflix at one time, and it was really good. I feel like she's a really inspiring woman, and it's really cool just to see her in that element, and so I think it's a pretty cool thing. Now, I want to go into something else that is really actually affecting Oklahoma. And this is a new bill that seeks to change how child custody is determined in Oklahoma. Now, we had Marquise Dennis on the show, and he is a powerhouse, and he has Birthright Living Legacy, and their efforts are being pushed. They're pushing this bill, which is House Bill 1082. Now, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about House Bill 1082. And if anybody wants to chime in about it, they can. Now, this piece of legislation is they're going to use it to change some of the wording that's already in the state law. It says the state law said that the court must decide what is the best interest for the child, not what appears to be. It also sets the legal starting point that is in the best interest of the child to have access to both parents. Now, both Dennis and Telford, who is also, I believe he's a state representative, that said this level of playing field for both parents involves the custody battle. So we know a lot of people, they go through these custody battles and they're going, I need my child, I want the child, and they want to X the other parent out and different things like that. But this bill, what is going to do is going to help give equal access to both parents, giving equal access to both parents because it is the best results for the child, is what Dennis said. So a parent still can file for full custody of their child or children, but they must prove how this serves the best interest of the child. So that's what this bill is about. I think it is a really good thing because a lot of times we see that people try to, because they have been hurt, they try to X the other person out of the child's life. And it's like you can't X a parent out because we know that we need both parents in the home, the mother, the father, the masculine and the feminine energy. We need that to make sure that the child is just well rounded. So I really like this bill because it goes to what's the best interest of the child, so that the child is not just tossed around and moved and their whole life just really flipped upside down. Bad enough, divorce happens or whatever, but when it comes to different things like that, that is like a really big thing. So that's just a close that up, because that is the last thing that I have on my thing.
But before you pass on from that,
Mhm.
I spoke with Marquise about this, and I told him I one commended him for one being about the business of the mission.
Mhm.
He talks about trying to make a change in the community in terms of fathers' rights, but it's another thing to actually see that work out there actually being done. And so I want to commend him for that and his efforts. And then just to kind of piggyback off of what Nikki said, this is really the first step. And all this is basically doing is trying to level the playing field for access to the child. This isn't going to change child support or custody overall, just the baseline understanding that having both parents is what's in the best interest for the children. So we need to get behind this so that we can start to make some actionable changes.
Yes.
So everybody's got a smartphone. Get on the line with your state
Get
representative
out.
and let's make a change for the better.
Yes. 'Cause
Yes.
it's going to be on the house floor too. So that's really
Well,
big.
shout out to Marquise Dennis and Bright Living Legacy for all that you've done for the city of Tulsa
Mhm.
and for Black fathers.
Yes, definitely. So now we're gonna go segue into the next thing. We're gonna start talking about our topic. Today's topic is about accountability, and it states that is unfiltered accountability the missing piece in our community. I think that's a real big, a real bold statement. And hey, it may actually be true, because maybe that's the reason we are the way that we are. So I think that is really good. This is really, really, this is going to be a really good episode. So let's jump right into it.
Okay, so I'd like to pose this question back at Richard Roots. I don't know if he's prepared for it or not.
I'm not, but I'm ready.
So let's set the basis of this question.
Yeah.
When you say unfiltered accountability, what are you talking about?
So, oh yeah, I love that. So, unfiltered accountability. I think over the ages will become I think I would say my generation specifically is what we started to like fall back on unfiltered accountability. Back then, someone was able to tell you straight up without sugarcoating it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say unfiltered accountability, I'm talking about straight up. Straight up. Not in a way like you stink, take a bath, but in the sense um you stink, take a bath. Yeah. So just unfiltered accountability, because I think as we started to like beat around the bush, we started to get away from telling the truth.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
So we don't typically see that, and because we got away from unfiltered accountability, it puts us in a position where when somebody does give you unfiltered accountability, it looks like an attack versus I'm trying to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
So people automatically get in defense mode instead of saying, you know what, thank you. That's what I do when somebody give me accountability. I say thank you. But it's funny, I notice as they're giving a lot of explanations as to why they're keeping me accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm here with you. I'm here. I already get it.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it, because I just like Marquise Dennis said, he said transparency is currency for women.
Mm-hmm.
For me, accountability is currency, because you're gonna make me a better man.
Right.
At the end of the day, I know after I don't have to like what you're saying. If it's true, it's true. But that's what I mean. I want to get back to. I personally believe unfiltered accountability is the missing piece for the peace in our community.
So I'm actually glad I asked you that, because now I have a basis for understanding exactly kind of where you were going with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what this makes me think of? Participation trophies.
Mm-hmm.
This is what this makes me think of, is participation trophies. That whole movement where we started telling teachers not to use red ink because it traumatizes students.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
The big push against bullying, basically we created a generation of coddled people. And I believe it was from the standpoint of maybe we just wanted to protect them. But at some point along the way, we forgot that we can't protect them at the consequence of them learning. And so because we started giving everybody participation trophies for showing up, people stopped having to deal with the fact that there was winners and losers. The thing about competition is it drives performance. It forces the cream to rise to the top, because it takes a particular mindset and ability to be able to get to the top. Yeah. It's not just one or the other. And so when we start giving everybody credit for just showing up, it devalues the goal of getting to the top. It makes it easier to be like, oh, well, they just like to work hard, maybe something wrong with them. So it makes it easier to stay at the bottom. Right. Because you getting credit just for being there. When you, for instance, changing the way we mark our test, that's again another way of saying, instead of you learning how to deal with criticism, we're now going to find a way to soften the blow to you. But every time you soften the blow is still going to get there. So to your point, now when anyone tries to give you any sort of feedback, they're adding so much fluff and so much extra stuff that when you're a man, it's like, hey, you didn't have to say all of that stuff to me. You was right. I stink, take a bath. It's really that cut and dry. Right. But we've gotten so used to putting so many barriers in place because, frankly, this PC culture, nobody wants to offend anybody else. But the truth is that in order to think, you must risk offending somebody else.
Right.
That's true.
In order to think, you must risk offending somebody else. And the only way you can exist in this world without offending anyone else is not doing anything. And so if we've taught a whole generation of children that the goal is to try not to offend anyone, why are we shocked that they're not doing that much?
Yeah. Hey, you can't make change without offending someone. Ebony Jones, she said in the comment section, we can definitely be too gentle. And she also said that people aren't fond of the truth. I lost a friend and have been told that I lack tact. Because we can't be blunt. We can't be honest. It's like my intentions is to better you. I'm not doing this to be a mean girl or whatever. This is my intentions is to better you. Like, hey, I don't think you should do it, but we gotta say things. You gotta, what they say, do a little salt. I mean, a little sugar, make it sweet. The sandwich method, something, and those things are good. I'm not saying that that's not good, but sometimes you got to just be able to tell somebody. You probably ain't got enough time. Look, I just need to let you know. Yeah, you need to get it together.
I've learned that most people don't have the amount of time they need to be able to relay a message to you in a way that you can receive it. Because it actually takes a lot of studying. You have to study that person. You have to study your deliverance.
Yeah.
You have to be mindful. You gotta actually sit down and think about how this person will respond when you say it this way, versus just coming out and saying it. Hey, look. So eventually, if you can't just come out and just say, hey man, you stink, and you gotta formulate, you gotta come up with a formula to tell that person they stink, then eventually, hey, most of us, we just gonna be like, you know what? That's too much work. So, I mean, you basically nailed it already. This is why unfiltered accountability is just going out the window, because it's too much work.
It's too much work. Honestly, that's just what it is at this stage. There's such a lack of people being open to criticism.
Right.
And that goes back to I think that points in a lack of male leadership. Because typically you were going to get that criticism from the males because they were the most direct. They were the least concerned about how you felt at that time.
Yeah.
And once you remove that, my mother loves me, absolutely. But is she going to prefer to be the good guy or the bad guy? And based on what her decision is, the other side of that question is which one did I need at that time?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're the bad guy because we have a different goal. Your job is to keep me safe and help me to develop as a functioning human being. I want to have the best time as possible.
Right.
There's gonna come a point where our two objectives is gonna clash. That's why you have authority over me. But if you don't want to, if you're concerned about my feelings, if you're trying to be my friend, if you don't want to ruffle my feathers, you're not going to be as direct with me as I probably need. Because as a kid, all of that fluff you probably believe, depending upon who's telling it to you. It's not till you get to be an adult that you realize that's all unnecessary fluff added to the statement.
Right.
So it's really, I think, the communication that's directed to our children, and then they just grow up they grow up in their first periods of criticism are either in college or on their first job. And typically male leadership is where that is. If you're going to be successful, you're going to have to get through male leadership at some point. And with the lack of that conditioning, being used to dealing with criticism and overcoming and accepting it, understanding that everybody is not out to get you, that's where we end up. It's hard to take accountability because nobody's going to tell you the truth.
Hey,
I feel like, go ahead.
I was about to say that's facts. Go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I feel like you've been listening to Michelle Obama because she said that. No, but
See, I was trying
she
to be
really
nice.
said that. She said that. That was like one thing. She was like on this like panel, and they were just saying like, Kelly Rowland said, like how do you go about like correcting your kids because you don't want to be mean to them. She was like, well, basically you can't be their friends. You got to separate that, and also you don't want them to go into the world and their first battle with disappointment or something that is not good is out there in the world. No, you want it to be at home. You want their first, you can't have it. Like you can't have it because you didn't eat your food, and they feel that disappointment. They feel that upset. But if they always get their way at home and then go out into the world, and then they're gonna be looking like oh my gosh, like they just don't like me. No, you did something wrong. So it's like we have to start that starts at home. And most people that can't deal with it, and honestly, probably because they probably never got it at home. So it could be that. So yeah. Also, Candace, shout out to Candace. Thank you for tuning in. She said that part. Yes, I would get so frustrated after waiting so long to talk and time running out. That is true. That was something we said earlier. Candace also said we all have a grumpy victim character. I'm learning this through the artist way. Or the hardest way. Maybe she meant to say hardest, but sometimes it changes.
Yeah, I noticed too. Just to get back to what you were saying, Promise. When you look at how most men, and I'm not going to just deem this as a trait of a man, but because a lot of our mothers raised us in this way. But when you look at how we handle our children, we prepare them for that unfiltered accountability. And I know that's what you were alluding to. When I always bring this point up so many times with this situation, between me and my daughter. It's always been hard for me to look at my daughter's artwork. That's what I'm gonna call it. It's always been hard for me to look at my daughter's artwork because I'm so honest.
I know where you're going with this.
Because I'm like, if I tell my daughter it looks good, she's gonna believe it looks good, and then she's gonna go out and she's gonna be like, look at my artwork, and it's gonna look like a disfigured
right
stick man or whatever, and she's gonna get her feelings hurt.
Right.
You know, so when instead of telling her, you know, I did actually learn a balance, because at first I used to be like, nah, that look bad, baby. You know, and my wife's like, she's two. You know, so but I progressed, y'all. I progressed, I got better. So what I started to do,
like she just got older, but okay.
yeah. I started saying, well, baby, that doesn't look like a human, because a human has 2 legs, 2 arms.
Okay.
You know, so one time she drew like an elephant, and I was like, baby, so what's a distinctive feature of an elephant? And she said, a trunk. And I said, this one doesn't have one. So she started to, the next time she's drawing like she's looking for distinctive features. So she's progressing.
Mm-hmm.
So then one day, this is the punchline. Y'all, this is going to always be a highlight moment for me. One day I came home from work, and my daughter was on YouTube watching people draw.
Mm-hmm.
And she was drawing from what she saw on YouTube. Now, you should see her work from the moment I first told her that's ugly
Mm-hmm.
to now. I didn't say it like that, y'all. But from the moment I told her it doesn't look good
Right.
to now, you know. But when my daughter experienced unfiltered accountability in this world, she's going to think back from the lessons she's learned from her father.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll be able to see, okay, this is love. But guess what? Even if the accountability is not coming from a place of love, it's still to your advantage.
Yeah,
I agree.
So I mean, even if and that's how I know you agree, because that's how men look at it. We're like, oh, you feel like I can't score? I'm gonna show you, and I'm gonna be out all night shooting baskets
trying to prove.
until I come back so I can prove my point.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna use that as fuel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like don't spend so much time in an emotional state where you trying to figure out what's this person's intentions. Forget all that.
Mm-hmm.
Ask yourself, is what this person saying is true?
Is the statement true?
Is it true? If the statement is true, you move forward. It don't even matter. And if it's true, tell that person thank you.
Tell them thank you.
If it came from a bad place, they're not gonna like how it feel when you say thank you.
They not.
Back in the day, we used to be like, "That's a hard pill to swallow," you know. But we used to swallow the pills.
We used to swallow.
Now today, they gotta take it. They gotta break it apart. They gotta chop it up. Nobody wants to just take it. Like,
hey, the thing about a hard pill to swallow is, I think that metaphor is so beautiful, because the way we looked at pills is like, if I had to take a pill, it was for the betterment of me.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a hard pill to swallow, I'm still gonna swallow it, even though
it had to be important.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like you had something brewing over there, Prime.
You know, your story actually reminded me of a story I had with my son, and we were talking because, you know, we grew up in the area. We grew up in the era where when we were playing games and whatnot, the people we were playing against were sitting right next to us. So there's certain social habits you develop. You learn how to talk to people. You learn how to be competitive. You also understand that you can take things too far because those people are right next to you. And so we had a situation, and my son was with me, and I felt like he was just a little bit too comfortable around me. And I had to remind him, I was like, son, you're not my friend. And he was like, he kind of gave me a look, and I had to tell him, I was like, understand, this isn't necessarily me trying to be mean to you by any means. This is me letting you know that if I were to consider you a friend, it would be disrespectful to my actual friends, because my actual friends have to provide value in order to be my friend. There are a number of people who would like to consider themselves as friends, and only them and me know we ain't friends.
Right.
You know, so in order to actually be my friend, you need to have things going on for yourself. You need to be about some purpose, and you need to be able to provide some sort of tangible value for us to be able to exchange. That's not to harp on you. That's just to point out, at this stage of the game, you have none of that. We don't have anything in common.
Hey, Prime, I'm gonna tell you, that sounds harsh to the world.
It does. It does. But it's the truth.
I get it. That I'm sorry, you on the road. You on the road.
Somebody said a word.
That
So
is
it's
a
like,
word
China.
because that young man, I could just imagine how much value he's gonna bring to his life and everybody's around him because of that concept.
Exactly.
But an emotional person could say, "Oh man, that's harsh to tell your son."
But it's the truth.
Man, the product, I see it already, man.
Yeah.
I see the product.
Yeah, it's like also I want to just say that because also someone Serenity posted that someone told her son that he was the best football player when he got on a new team. He was just average. You know, he wanted to quit because he truly believed that he was the best. So you definitely got to be honest. You can't be giving people
That's
false
facts.
hope.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
facts. That's good.
But
That's
to
good.
finish out that thought, so I told him this, and I said, so here's the thing. Right now, we can't be friends. But if you listen to me, if you hold up your end of the bargain, and I'll get to his end of the bargain in just a second, you hold up your end of the bargain, there will come a time where we could sit down and have your first drink together. You can grow into a man who could be my friend.
Right.
But during this period, you don't qualify. And so there needs to be that separation between the two of us because that's the only way I can keep you safe.
If you say that, people gonna definitely be like, "Oh, he think he better than that. Oh, he got an ego." But you gotta be like that, though. You really do.
You have to be that way. And so I told him, I was like, your role in this contract, and I think this is any kid's role in a relationship. And I think this is also part that we have to get back to getting our kids to understand that they have work to do. We've gotten to the place where we've removed so much from the children that is basically the fact that they exist and breathe. We need to celebrate that when they can't do none of that stuff on their own. And so what I told him is that as a child, your only job is to be the kind of kid to act in a way that is going to get your parents to give you what you want. That's it.
Hey, that's easy.
That's easy. Because at the end of the day, you are always going to need to be able to serve someone else. You are always going to need to be able to be mindful of other people.
Right.
And you're going to need to be able to treat people in a certain way to where they want to be around you. And the trick is your parents already want to give you the stuff.
Yeah. This reminds me, like what you're saying, it reminds me of a word that an elder gave me. She said, if I can give you any word of advice, she said, you love your kids, but you need to raise your kids so that the world will love them. And that's what I hear from you, you know. So when we're just saying, you know, when we're telling the kids what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear, we're going to put them in a world that's not going to necessarily love them.
Right.
That's true. That's true. That is definitely true.
But I wanted to mention
Somebody
what Candace
say
said.
instilling values.
Candace has said, you know, she had mentioned the
Card.
The card.
Recall.
Oh, okay, got you. Thank you. Candace had mentioned, it's not gonna go on, but Candace had mentioned you have to have a balance between emotional and logic, and that is true because so what, in my opinion, because I want to see what you got brewing over there. In my opinion, that's true because with my daughter, in that same situation, I did actually consider her feelings, you know, because I could have been like logical and been like, nah, baby, that's bad.
Right.
But when I considered her feelings, I was like, you know what, baby, it could be better. Right. Instead of saying it's bad, I said it could be better. And I asked her, even the fact that I asked her, what's a distinct feature of an elephant? That's me considering her feelings. Because I'm like, you know what? If I word it in this way, I can get her to see why and understand why I'm not giving her, this is good, baby. So even a bonus to that, y'all should see whenever my kids do anything, my kids are running to me. Even though I'm blunt, my kids are running to me to show me what they've done. My wife will tell you, they're running because they know if daddy likes it,
you did something.
You did something amazing. You know, my kids would be like, Daddy, is this cool? Oh, that's because I would tell them.
Daddy's usually hard to impress.
Yeah, we are.
Because we're going to be honest.
Because we're going to be honest. Yeah. I would tell them, they would say, "Is this cool?" I would tell them, baby, it's not cool if it's that easy to do.
I read a book once, and the way they framed it is they were like, if you're gonna have to give criticism, instead of, because the basic argument of the book was that negative reinforcement is a lot less effective than positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that they talked about handling that situation is instead of saying, hey, that's bad, or I actually like the way you handled it, but the way that they talked about in the book is instead of going into whether it's good or bad, which is the question she asked you,
Mm-hmm.
turn the question back on her and say, what did you think of it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of what you did? Tell me about this. So instead of you trying to figure out what it actually is, have her go through the process of telling you what that is, telling you how she feels about it. And then you're encouraging her to basically keep doing what she enjoys doing.
Right. Right. Hey, that's good. I think
Yeah.
it puts them in an analytical place too. You actually help develop their minds.
Right. Because you're not necessarily, because in my situation, like my daughter, she's taken away with her drawing and art, and our situation was different because I was always really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I've stepped away from it in my older years, but I still have sketch pads. I've done murals and stuff around Tulsa, and so I've always felt that I didn't want to be too hard because my standard is very high. I've spent hours and hours in doing this, but I also know how difficult it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted a way to approach it in a way that where I wasn't harping on her for not being good enough, because she, from a young age, almost compared her work to mine. It was like, well, I'm not as good as you. And I was like, I don't really want to further that thought process because you ain't been alive long enough to do what I've done yet.
Right.
You just haven't put enough pencils to paper to be able to do that. But by encouraging her to just follow what she thought, what she feels good with, then she can take that passion and go in whichever direction she wants to go, whether she wants to draw animals, she wants to draw anime, whatever it is. And then as she grows, because anything you do consistently with purpose, you're going to get better at.
Facts.
That's true.
And so as she gets better and she spends more and more time doing it, then we can add in a little bit more of the critical stuff, because now I know this matters to you. So now we can go ahead and give a little bit more of a critique. Now that you're a teenager, you've been doing this for a while, you know what something good versus something bad looks like. Now we'll add in a little bit more of a critique, but especially like in the younger years, hey, I just want to encourage you to do whatever you're doing.
Right.
Like finding yourself.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you say that, because Serenity actually just posted. She said, I told my kids, it's you versus you. I compare how you are today from how you were yesterday. We should always be improving. And that's how it is. Like, she can't compare her artwork to your artwork because you've been doing it long, like you said. So you compare what you did. Okay, look at that. You last week you couldn't do that nose, but this week you got the nose, you know, and it's looking better and better. So then it's like, now you have attainable goals. When we're trying to reach out to people goals, it's like, look, everybody's on a different track, you know. So it's like you can't do that, you know. Their home life might look different from your home life. You might have to go to work right after school, but they get to go home, so they get to study more. So just, if you focus on you just trying to better yourself versus, you know, always looking at the next person, that could be like, I would like to be like that, you know, I would like to draw like that, but right now in this moment, I'm okay with doing better than what I did the other day. So then eventually you'll get there. So
Prime said, consistency is key. And that's the reason why I gave up. I've told you my story. I gave up on art, football, basketball, because I wasn't the best at it. My mother told me, if you can't, whatever you do, be the best at it. Though that fueled a lot of people to be great at what they've done, for me, it had the opposite effect.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, so I'm good at a lot of different things, but I'm not the best at none of it, because whenever I saw someone greater than me, I backed out of it. So
yeah, that's the other side of that stick.
Side of that coin. So, you know, with my kids, I'm teaching them the same method. in the same way we just discussed.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to follow my tracks. Because you know what they say, jack of all trades, master of none.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that's true.
So speaking of that, it took me 30 years. Don't be trying to look at my age. It took me 30 years to hear the other side of that quote. So that is a partial quote.
Come on, bring it out.
So it said the way the quote goes is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but a jack of all trades is better than a master of one.
I've heard that before.
That is the whole quote.
Wow.
But I think we were in a climate where there was such a push for specialization that it rang so well to say a jack of all trades is a master of one.
Wow.
And you take that almost as a negative.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh, well, I shouldn't do all of these things. I shouldn't have all of these interests. I should just hyper focus on this one thing. But me, in particular, I've been really good at a lot of things. And so it was always a struggle for me to hyper focus and just do one thing. Because I always just felt like I was pulled in too many different directions. It didn't use enough of my mental faculties to do just this one thing. It's like, I feel like I could do more. I feel like I have interest to do other things than just this one thing for the rest of my life. And so hearing the rest of that quote actually was big for me, because it almost felt like it gave me grace to just be me. To be like, it's okay. You don't have one thing that you are just excellent and driven to. Because at the end of the day, a jack of all trades is better than the master of one.
That's true. Because you can show up in any space. You're always.
That's what I was.
You always have a need.
That's what I was
like
about to say, yeah.
You do. You always have a need. So it's like, look, I know a little bit about plumbing. Sure, come in, and you're gonna learn more every time you do it. You just keep learning more. So technically, the more things you just keep doing, like the smarter you are. I feel like you have like a higher intelligence. But y'all look, the comment section is honestly, they are loving this conversation. I just want to shout y'all, because y'all been dropping things. I just like, let me stay out. Let me just input little things here and there, because y'all been really flowing. But they're really saying, they're saying like, this is a great convo. Shout out to Candace. This is her first time in. Also
Thank
Dorita. This is welcome to the fam. And also we got our regular Serenity, Shayelle, and we also had there was somebody else, the Real Black Wall Street Tour. Shout out to you. Thank you for tuning in, Ebony. Thank you all for tuning in. Just wanted to shout out a couple people that's been commenting a lot. My mom, obviously. Thank you also for tuning in. But yeah, y'all just been dropping so many gems, and that was like our first thing was definitely accountability and community. So y'all definitely hit that. And also with parenting, that was the next one. Y'all definitely hit that, because we can't sugarcoat things, and the world is turning a lot softer in certain arenas. But I feel like the only way we can really have effective change is being real and honest with people. And we got to give that to our kids, because I feel like people who are real and honest, like you said, I think you alluded to that, is just basically the change makers. They're the people who are going to make change. They're going to create change, But if you're not, because it's like, we can say, like, just think about like Malcolm X. If he didn't see a problem, Martin Luther King didn't see a problem, these great leaders that we have, Marcus Garvey and different things like that, if they didn't see a problem, they was like tiptoe around it, like, well, we would like equality, because we would like to walk through the same door. Like, they just tiptoe around it. But no, they were like, I might offend you, but I could care less, because this has to get done. So it's like, nah, just like when we learned a lot about just how we can change our communities. If we go to our legislators and just be like, hey, look, this is going on. Like, you got to be real honest, blunt, and direct with them. This is going on. This is what we change. This is what we want. You can't be like, well, it's like you're soft, you're floppy. Like, you don't really know, your back is kind of weak. And it's like, no, you got to be strong in it. So I think that is really good. Shout out to Donna. Thank you for tuning in. And Mickey Minnie. I missed her. And Urban Stable, he's in here too. So shout out to you guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. And we're gonna continue the conversation because it is good.
I think it's prime time.
It is. Oh yes, it is prime time with Edgar Prime. So you guys, I'm really excited about that. It's gonna be good. So we're about to jump right in. Let me change to him.
All right. You got the on the screen. That way I
I'm
can
about
pull
to
on
drop
my
it
phone.
up. I'm about to pop it up right now. So yes, it is prime time with Edgar Prime. Do y'all like our new overlays? All right. So dropping up this picture. There we go.
All right. So prime time with Aga Prime. Here we go. We got a doozy. The weakest men become stepfathers.
Uh-oh.
We'll ruffle some feathers with this one. So the more and more I thought about this, the more and more I can't think anything other than that's just a valid statement.
Mm-hmm.
And there are reasons why that is, which we could discuss those. But specifically to this, I would say the reason it's the weakest man is because this man that becomes a stepfather is willingly placing himself in a lose-lose situation.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the only way that this works is if this man does not have an understanding of women.
Mm.
So we've talked about the divine hierarchy and the structure, man, woman, God, man, woman, child. But if we just talk about relationships, for the sake of argument, functional relationships typically have a male, a competent man in the front, followed by a wife who loves, adores, and respects him, and the children. Well, to coin another man's phrase, it just stuck. I'm sorry, this is all I gotta go with. When you start another man's saved game, you eliminate your ability to have that structure. So your foundation of your relationship for the house that you're going to build is always going to be off balance. And if we really think about this as men, it makes perfect sense because you don't have a biological connection to those children. And so you are going to safeguard them from outside threats. Therefore, even though you're in the home, you are still an outside threat. So you can never be first. The children will have to be first in that relationship. Also, then because the single mothers have been in those roles where they've had to basically manage their whole life, it's a control thing. It's really difficult to give up control to another person, especially when your kids are not theirs.
That's facts. Yeah.
So you again end up a more competition between the man and the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just end up in a place of chaos. A responsibility without authority is bondage. So what happens in a lot of these relationships is that the man comes in and he's expected to be a father-like figure. He's expected to uphold some sort of standards and hold people accountable. But you don't have the right to authority over those children.
Mm-hmm.
Your authority is going to be superimposed from the mother.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the mother has the best intentions of heart, biologically, women are different every day. Mm-hmm. And it's only going to take that one day where she's not feeling you, those kids was acting up, or that faded, you not my daddy conversation.
Right.
And then you realize you have no power in the scenario. Or you say, hey, you can't do that. And she turns around and says, oh, you being too harsh. You've immediately lost the respect in that scenario. Furthermore, there is no prize at the end of this story. She can get up, walk away tomorrow. You don't have no access to those kids. Nobody cares about how much you've invested. It's all gone. And then, unfortunately, like you even listen to LeBron James. LeBron James got successful. He talked about his stepfather, but as soon as he started making those milestones, they start talking about his dad. It's just a thankless job. And so, honestly, only the lowest caliber of man would take on that responsibility because he doesn't think enough of himself to expect and demand more.
No, hold up, because the comment section was going wow. Now they were saying you lost me. They were saying save yourself, Edgar. So
let me just say
some
something real
people
quick.
was disagreeing.
I'm
Go
gonna throw
ahead.
something in real quick.
Throw it at me.
I don't know if y'all noticed, but it was a woman who posted, and it was a woman underneath who said facts. So I understand. Even as he was speaking, a lot of people could say, "Well, I grew up with a stepdad." Now, don't make the exception the complete truth. If we do that, then we're gonna ignore the facts. Everything that he said, again, is the hard truth. Now, I'm not saying that, and I don't think this is what he's saying. If you're a single mother, you have no chance to get a man. That's not what's being said. We just have to look at the reality of what it is. A woman is always going to be protective over her child. So
I think that's any child. You're going to be protective over your biological child, whatever, if you feel like the dad is being too harsh.
Facts. So when another man is coming in, it takes a lot, and which is fair. It takes a lot of time for that woman to be able to trust his discipline method, which is fair. But most men are most men are disciplinarians. I'm going to say that. So most men are disciplinarians, and you need that. You need that because men are natural disciplinarians and women are natural nurturers for the most part. There's always an exception. So I'm not talking about people who don't fall in that exception, but we have to consider that. And then we have to consider why there's so many relationships that don't work because there's a stepfather that came in who didn't feel like he had authority within that home. You may remember your good story, but you haven't heard the bad ones. What's funny is my wife can attest to this. Just yesterday, I didn't even tell you, Prime, because I didn't know this what you was gonna pick. But just yesterday, somebody told me this. Can't make this up. He said the woman said she prayed for a simp, and he showed up.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
So, and I'm not saying that that's always the case. I'm not saying that that's always the case because this is a Black Love Club. We love our women. I don't want it to come across that I'm shaming our women. But what I'm saying is, we have seen that some women do actually view a man coming in to take care of their kids as a simp, and they take advantage of that. And there are some women, but there are some women who are different, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the difference. If the man settles with one of those women, and he hasn't discerned that she was just looking for somebody as a simp, that's a weak man. Mm-hmm. But the ones that come in and they really like the female or whatever, also see that she has kids, so he also knows that I'm coming into responsibility. I feel like it's also a strong man because I'm also willing to take on that responsibility. Now it is a little bit different if the dad is still involved in the life. Now, depending on the relationship you can have with the dad, hey, how will we handle discipline? Having those conversations,
right?
How I feel like certain things can be worked out. Because some women they need a man in the house. And sometimes maybe it didn't work out. Sometimes maybe they're widowed or different things like that. And that man can still step into that role, And I feel like it's definitely, I know you said not on the exception and different things like that, but I feel like there are definitely good men that can still be that disciplinary role, that still can do that. And there's good women that will allow it, because they trust that man, they believe in that man, and they see the good intentions that they have, for that child. So I don't think it's like that for every situation. I do believe that maybe in some situations, definitely, if the man didn't vet this woman right and they couldn't figure out, because there are some women that will literally sit up there and just be like, oh, girl, he's so stupid. He taking care of me and all 5 of my kids, and they got some men that's just stupid enough to do it. But I feel like there are really good ones that understand the responsibility in which they're coming into, and they're ready to take on that role. So,
right. I think it's most important for the woman to understand and consider what Prime was saying. if the woman considers what he was saying, then it could really shift everything. Because you have to remember too, he also mentioned how the children view that man. You know, you ain't my daddy, shut up. And that's real.
Yeah.
Every man my mom ever brought in the house, he never felt like my father. So him trying to tell me what to do, it wasn't going to work. You know what I'm saying? So we really have to consider that. So if the woman understands that, and she would actually have to be the one to set the standard.
Yeah.
But if she never does set that standard, and she never has this conversation or come to this realization, then nothing ever changes.
Yeah. They also said, thank you. Urban Saver said, thank you for bringing a different perspective. Because there is a different perspective. Because I feel like that is truth and definitely what you said. And obviously, you know, there's a truth, but then there's also these exceptions, like you said as well. So it's like there's a truth, and then there's the exceptions. It's just, I feel like men just gotta be smart. You can't just be looking at the woman thinking she cute, you know.
Okay, so if I can play further as devil advocate, because I'm already on that side of the table.
They already put you out there.
They already put me out there, which is fine. I'm with it. So if you're gonna say, this is where, to me, this all starts to kind of come together. If you're going to praise the traits of this man who is taking on the burden of being a stepfather, those traits should be valuable to all women, right? Don't we also have a contingent of our Black women who don't have children, who need husbands?
But I think most people that are stepdads, this is how I feel. I think most people that are stepdads also have kids too. That relationship just didn't work out. I feel like if you're a man with kids, go find another woman with kids. Like don't go find the ones without the kids. I feel like, no, let her have a single, like a man without kids. I don't know. I feel like the responsibility should be kind of the same, but yeah.
Well, so the reason I say that is because, so if this is a good man, and we're saying he's taking on this role, and that's part of what makes him a good man, shouldn't he go with a woman and actually have his own kids, as opposed to raising another man's kids?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you don't have kids, don't go to a woman with kids, because it's like you don't even know what it is to be a father.
Right.
So how can you even step into that road? That's what I'm assuming. You know. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the opposite angle on that? So if we're gonna say this guy could do better, what's the single mom's better?
Wait, say that again.
So if we're gonna say that the stepdad can do better, which is a woman without kids, what's better for the single mom?
What's better for the single mom is a man with kids.
Why would that be the case?
Because the playing field is even. It's even. We're even. You need a man that knows what it is to be a father, and it's like you need a man that knows what it is to be a father. Y'all both are leveled.
So that sounds great, but so here's the thing: you still got biological differences. You still got his kid, and you still got her kids. You guys can pair up, but there's still going to be that level of distinction. So if we just think about just how the kids interact in those environments, kids are very territorial when it comes to mama. Matter of fact, I think little girls are very territorial when it comes to daddy.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you have a situation where you're bringing this person in, and the kids oftentimes are going to clash with that person too. And so you also typically have unresolved issues with the person you had the kids with. Those are all things that are gonna have to be calculated. And you know what? You guys make up a good point. There are situations where it works out. I'm not trying to say it's not. I'm not saying that everyone is gonna be a bad situation. That's not all. As you mentioned, you need to vet. I think that's probably the most important thing. But just speaking to the post, if you look at how many times do we decide to take on a task where there's no benefit at the end of the race?
Yeah, and that goes to Mickey Minnie's point, and I don't think anybody could disagree. She said most stepdads are temporary.
They tolerate it.
That's no temporary.
Oh no,
They in and out.
temporary. But I'm saying
But
tolerate it.
Oh,
but
got you.
that
Tolerate it.
reflects back on the mother. That reflects back on them, because if it's a good woman, that man's gonna stick around, right? But if it's not a good woman, he's gonna be. But that's another thing. You don't bring no man in your house that you don't know that like y'all gonna be forever. Like, why would I introduce you to my kids in that manner? You know,
But
like
how
I feel
would
like
you do that anyway? Like you mentioned, deservedly so, the woman needs to be able to trust your discipline skill, your disciplinary process.
Right.
Well, your kids don't just like free stay the same age throughout your time to figure that out. Like your kids are still growing. Like it without any sort of discipline and structure, your kids are gonna run wild. And the problems that we could solve today while you're still not sure about my discipline are going to be problems that we may not be able to stop later. Because there's certain habits that develop. It's like when we grow trees. If the tree starts growing crooked, if you ever notice, they'll get the twine or whatever and they'll tie it to a rod or something to keep the tree growing straight. But if you are jockeying for authority over discipline during those formative years, the kid's gonna grow crooked.
Yep.
Not respect the man. And so now when you actually get to that place where it's like, hey, I trust you to do this, the kid don't respect him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel
and
like
they never truly learn discipline because it's inconsistent.
But I feel like it just depends, because the kid, maybe the parents went through a divorce, maybe it was something traumatic. So you also got what that kid is going through and how it's hard for you to step into that role, because it's like my own dad is probably not in my life. He probably just gone. He might be in another life. So I'm angry, but I feel like eventually as they get older, they'll remember those lessons and they will basically just kind of like, you know what? He was always real to me. And then that relationship, but they'll straighten up then. Like, because even with our own kids, we struggle with our biological kids. We struggle with a discipline thing and different things like that. You struggle with them still doing stupid stuff and everything like that. But if that person is still there, they'll see that this person actually loved me, and they did not have to love me. They made a choice to love me. Like my mom, she's just gonna love me because I'm her child. But this person actually came in and said, I choose not only your mom, but I choose to love you too, and I'm gonna be active in your life. So I think that I think it says a lot about that man's character in the way. But we only stepdad. Look, y'all, we 11 minutes over on stepdaddies.
It does. I just want to tie it up. It does, and it's true. Don't take that. What we are saying is that stepdad is not going to work. We're not saying that. But what we are saying is just consider the unfiltered truth. So I'm gonna just go ahead and wrap it up now. So when you consider, I love that the title of this was unfiltered, the unfiltered accountability, because when you filter accountability, you're going to be missing some things that you actually really need. So by the time that accountability get to you, it's watered down and you don't even accept it. But I think this whole conversation was just straightforward. And I think we were we put some thoughts on, especially Prime. Shout out to Prime. We put some thoughts in the air that people hadn't really considered. I saw some people say they were about to leave the room, but shout out to you for staying. Shout out for you. Shout out, because sometimes our conversations are going to sound different, but these are the conversations we need to have. We got Prime on the show because we know we're not going to agree with everything Prime said. Yeah. And Prime ain't going to agree with everything that we said. Yeah. But that's how conversations come together. If we all agree, if everybody sit at these seats at this table and we all agree, then we not going to get nowhere. So we can't always leave when a conversation ain't going in our favor. You got to hear it out and stick it in. Mm-hmm. I appreciate you all, sis, for sticking it in. But as always, we're going to wrap the show up.
Yes, the blackout, you guys. It's the blackout with Richard Roots.
And that was the blackout.
I
gave it already. I came a little early with the blackout. But as always, you guys, Black love still exists. Black women, we love you.
And Black men, we love you too, you guys, And Black child, you are golden. So y'all remember to follow us at the Black Radio on Instagram, on YouTube, the Black Radio Show, and on Facebook, the Black Radio Show on Facebook, and also follow KBOB 89.9 FM because they are the reason why we're on the air. So thank you so much. So shout out to them. Shout out to all you guys who's been in the chat. And that's it for the show. We see you guys next week.